Hey everyone, welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran, and of course, I'm joined this morning by my co-host Rob Greenlee. Rob, good morning. How are you?
Doing terrific, Todd. It's great to be here again, talking about new media, and we have a terrific guest that's going to join us. Has kind of been living on the edge of YouTube and podcasting, and is a really fun and I guess a thoughtful guy in a humorous way. So.
Well, that's good. And with that, we want to, of course, introduce our guest today is Amir Blumenfeld. Good morning, Amir. How are you?
Morning. Can you guys see me? I just lost you.
Yeah, I can see you, and that was kind of weird. That just kind of went away for a second. So, yeah, you're here. So good. So, Amir,
I said?
Yeah, why don't you tell folks a little bit about yourself, your show? Do the little 411 introduction here.
Sure. I'm a comedian. I have a web series for College Humor called Jake and Amir. We've been doing that since 2007, which seems recent, but is actually 7 years ago.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, you've been doing it a long time, I know. That's
yeah,
exactly why.
And then we just started a podcast for Podcast One, or we just started a podcast a year ago and joined Podcast One recently, and it's called If I Were You. It's an advice podcast.
So if I were you, sounds like you're probably soliciting people's comments on life in general. What's some of the topics you cover on that show?
Yeah, people email us their problems, and we just basically tell them what we would do if we were in their situation. It allows us to be not experts on any topic other than ourselves, so it works out. You can't get mad at us because it's just what we would do. We can't be wrong about that.
That's right.
Yeah.
I like that. It's a good concept for a show, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah, I think it is, because it really puts you guys out there of trying to actively connect with your audience and thinking about what your audience needs and thinks about. And you're trying to bridge that kind of divide between the two, the listener and the host of the show, and trying to bring that together. So, I know that's what you guys really kind of fostered at the College Humor stuff. But if you could expand a little bit on that, is that part of your kind of content strategy to do that?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say content strategy. I would say job. So
job.
My
okay.
job. Yeah.
In a real practical sense, right? Yes.
Yeah. My content strategy is to be employed and to have health insurance. That's my content.
To probably have fun and create some content that connects with your fan base, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a perk of my content strategy.
Yes.
I like the the content strategy is to have a job and health insurance. That's that's a good one. It's a in this day and age, it is good. I'm pretty fortunate that I have a backup plan when it comes to my medical insurance, but it took me 24 years to earn it. But yeah.
From the military.
Yeah, from the military.
Uncle Sam, right?
But of course, the way the VA's killing people these days, I don't know if I want to go over and use their service or not.
Hey, I didn't say that. Let the record show.
Yeah. So. I have a right to have a strong opinion on those folks. So, I'm sure then with your show that, when some people are sending in their advice, I'm sure you're doing a comedy spin on that, or...
Yeah. We try our best to be as funny as possible, and then we try our second best to actually advise people out of their problems.
Well, that's kind of cool. One thing is, the advice columns, in the newspaper used to be really, really huge. So I could see where this would be a good, but it's it's not necessarily advice. It's your opinion. So
it's advice by way of our opinion.
Yeah. So Rob was saying earlier that you guys apparently you guys started on YouTube. Is that correct?
Actually, we started making videos before YouTube.
Yeah.
And then.
Maybe not before YouTube, but we started making videos for College Humor before College Humor put videos on YouTube.
So do you actually go into their studio? Do you do it locally, or how's that process work with them?
Yeah, we go into the College Humor as an office. For a long time it was in New York, and recently we moved to LA. And we shoot our videos there, and we edit them there as well.
So how's their creative process? Or do you guys have to submit stick ideas or show ideas, or do you guys just are allowed pretty much to do what you want and you guys make your own decisions from a production standpoint?
Yeah, we were able to be. First of all, we have a lot of creative freedom over there. Maybe it's because we've been making videos for so long that they trust us, but nobody ever looks at any of our scripts or ideas or videos until they're online.
That's cool. And then do they? What is the kind of do they support you guys with the facility specifically? Is that their main?
Yep.
And then of course the brand as well, right? And advertising or whatever they do for that.
And of course the health insurance. Don't forget.
Ah, yes.
They've been around. Can't forget that.
They've been around a long time. Are they funded, or are they self-sufficient, or how's their business
well, the
plan
website started in '99, 15 years ago, when the internet was prehistoric, by a couple of dudes, and then in like 2006 maybe they sold it to IAC, which is a giant mega conglomerate corporation, the same business that owns Hotels.com and Expedia and Match.com and Ask.com. They started buying content companies like CollegeHumor.com.
So are they then? So how does that actually with that company being the owner? Then is College Humor its own standalone deal? Do they come in and they have management in there? Do you know any of the workings of that? Because I'm just kind of curious on their business back end. How, I guess are they not worried about making money, or how does that work?
I'm sure they are worried about making money, and they have a great sales team over there that's able to monetize the content that Jake and I make, and then also they make other videos that they're able to sell ads against.
I got you.
So, Amir, one of the big questions that we have on this show as we talk about the whole new media space is kind of like the nexus between, or non-nexus between, podcasting and YouTube. What's your thoughts between those two areas? Content on, or folks that create content on YouTube typically aren't successful podcasters. And vice versa. You're one of the few that have been able to kind of bridge that divide that really exists out there. I mean, why do you think that exists?
I don't know. I wasn't aware of that. So you're saying people who are like YouTube celebrities, quote unquote, don't have big podcasts on iTunes and vice versa?
Yeah, right. That's the typical pattern that we've seen here over the last few years. Is that and probably it gets back to the different kind of age groups that follow YouTube versus podcasting. And
yeah, that's true. It's hard to have an audience of like 8 to 13-year-old boys, and then also 28 to 45-year-old business professionals.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's definitely where I think the stats on the podcasters probably maybe 25, 20. It's come down a little bit, but all the way out to almost 60. So
yeah, I guess it's I wonder why audiences are. I guess it's a little hard to access, to figure out what is going on with like iTunes, downloading on your phone, listening to it. Yeah. It's hard to wrap your head around, other than like versus going to a website and clicking play.
I think a lot of people are clicking play on podcasts, and maybe that's why the demographic's starting to move down a little bit. But typically, my personal show that I do outside of this one is a tech show, and it does very well. Over 100,000 subscribers to that show, and my YouTube videos get 100 views or something. So it's and I've never been able to really. Of course, who wants to watch me for an hour and 15 minutes? That's part of it. So
don't sell yourself long.
Yeah, well, it's just a fact of the situation. But even those folks that have shorter shows, 10 or 15 minutes, don't seem to do as well either, and some really well-known names.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because for a long time, you guys were really focused on YouTube videos and doing kind of your situational comedies and things like that as part of that. but I've seen you kind of move more and more towards the podcasting side. Is that just an evolution of your thinking about the whole new media space, about the opportunity with podcasting, or is it just that your followers or whatever are getting a little older and maybe are more savvy about actually subscribing to an audio show?
Yeah, well, I guess it's a combination of both. One, we wanted to create something separate from Jake and Amir that we would own ourselves and that would be able to be marketable just as me and Jake talking. Like, we have a show tonight that's just the podcast, which is me and Jake talking to each other on stage for an hour. We don't have to rehearse or practice, and it's not like these characters that College Humor owns, technically. Yeah. So there's that, and then there's also the ability to show our true selves to our audience. Like, for 6 years, it was just Jake and I joking around with each other, but we would only show these web shorts. So, for our audience would get 2 minutes of content a week, or 4 minutes, depending on how many videos we made. And that was very, hyper-produced. And now it's Jake and I can sit in front of 2 microphones and chat for 45 minutes, and it's a little less effort for us and more content for our audience. So it seems to be more efficient.
Yeah.
And less stress.
A little less stress. There's still, different stresses that go along. Like, it took me months to figure out how to record something to sound good and export it and upload it and all this stuff. There's a lot of nuances to podcasts that, as easy as it is to start one, it's also a little bit difficult to really figure it out.
And I think that's part of the reason, too, that, we continue to see a trend of a high, and we talked about this many, many, many times, a high dropout rate or high quit rate or fail rate or pod fade rate. A lot of shows never get past episode 6 or 7. I think part of it is unrealistic expectations, and then they figured out it's really work. It's a lot to do to make it right. So when you guys went to do the audio only, then instead of having to do video all the time, was it nice? Okay, hey, I don't have to wear certain clothes. I can just be around in a t-shirt. I can, if I don't want to wear a shirt, I don't have to wear a shirt. Whatever it may be, you can be almost in any situation. Do you guys record is your show done where one guy's in another location, or actually, you said both of you are in the same location, right?
Yeah, it's so back and forth and it's so on top of each other that we haven't really been able to record like you guys do over Skype. Like, I feel like this format works with an interview, like you guys talk, then I talk,
right,
then somebody else talks. But with me and Jake, it's like constantly doing bits and it's almost like a live sketch on audio. So we have to be in the same room looking at each other, talking over each other.
Right.
And that it doesn't quite work that way over Skype. Like, the slight delay would throw everything off.
Yeah, so there's some cueing there that has to happen. I got you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, having people in the same studio together creates a whole different kind of dynamic too. From a, being able to look at somebody and see their facial expressions and stuff. I did a show for many, many years that had 2 or 3 other co-hosts. And that dynamic that happens, in the room, it's almost like you're sitting in your living room, just all of you kind of rapping and chatting together and having a lot of fun. But you're exactly right. Skype is kind of like this. It can be this kind of stilted experience, and I've often thought about that from the standpoint of, at some point the technology will get to a point where it will be more kind of what's called kind of duplex experience, where you can talk over each other, and it's not going to create this kind of this hiccup in the actual audio stream. But we're not there yet. Yeah,
it is crazy how far along we are technologically, and video conferencing is still not great.
Yeah,
and and I find myself, even after we've done so many of these shows, I think we've done 49 in this series, and we probably did another 60 or 70 in a previous series we were working on. I still have a tendency to step on people from time to time, and then you have that awkward moment where okay, who goes next to talk? And I think Rob's right on that. In the studio, you can see when the guy's getting ready to take a breath. You can jump in there, So it's true from a timing standpoint.
Well, and also there's a lot of kind of physical kind kind of communication that happens in the studio that can trigger other types of kind of reactions in the audio too. I mean, I saw that dynamic a lot in my own show for many years. Is that, kind of physical actions by your guest, or if you can create a really kind of it's almost like a theater of the mind kind of experience, and it just doesn't happen over Skype. I mean, even though you can see somebody. Yeah.
You can see somebody, but it's not the same.
No.
Yeah.
It's not.
No.
Yeah.
So
it's coming.
So I want to go back just a little bit to talk just a little bit about the college humor stuff. So you guys, this clips over there are just a couple of minutes then, huh?
Yeah, 2 to 3 minutes probably. Try to keep it short.
What does it take you guys to actually record and produce that? What is do you go in there, bam, camera's on, rock and roll, you go, and the clips are done in 5 minutes, and then you spend an hour editing it, or what is the...
Sort of. There is a crew working with us at College Humor Production that help us out a lot. There's like cameramen and audio guys, and once that we shoot it, and it takes like about an hour to shoot it, we like run the script 3 times just so we have a lot of options, get loose and comfortable with the script. And then after about, 45 minutes to an hour, it's done, and then they send it off to like a post-production coordinator who logs the footage and sets it up for Jake and I to edit, and then the editing usually takes about 2 hours, 3 hours, because it's very simple. It's Jake and I having a conversation mostly, so it's just like use this take of me, this take of Jake, and cut back and forth between us.
That's a lot of work for 2 or 3 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's actually considered like very fast and efficient. Like the fact that we shoot a 3-minute sketch in an hour and edit it in 2 hours is probably unheard of fast. Like most really nice, well-produced internet videos that are 3 minutes long take like an 8-hour day to make, and then like several days of editing, just because it's much more complicated than Jake and mine's setup.
Well, Rob, hour and 15 minutes of recording, 3 minutes of post-processing, 45 minutes of exporting. It's done. That's That's me. But but I'm not going back and editing. I'm getting the cuts this way, So I'm sitting here running the switcher myself. But
yeah,
and that
I mean, it's a whole different world. I mean,
that's true.
There's a lot of value packed into a 3 or 4 minute video like these guys produce. I mean, it's like on site. They're moving around.
Yep.
They're doing physical stuff on there that they have to do edits and cuts and things like that. And it's doing video. It's just an example of doing highly produced video can be very expensive and time consuming. And so, Amir, what's your thought of what's happening in the Hollywood area with kind of podcasting and new media stuff? Is it really kind of starting to become the focus, do you think?
We lost him. Yeah, something happened with the connection. This is the world of Skype this morning.
Yeah. It's just a connection issue either on our side or his side.
Now this is the beauty of Skype right there. That's what happens when Skype decides it wants to be squirrely.
Yeah.
So
I will never disappear if we're just talking to each other live in a studio.
Yeah, that's true. And if
you never know, right?
And if you do, it's that makes for a real good YouTube video. so
it's called special effects.
Yeah, well, could be or something else. Hey, Rob, you're going to ask.
I was just going to ask Amir. So, what are you seeing happen in Hollywood right now? Around there's so much talent down there, and obviously you guys moved from New York to LA. There must have been a reason for that. I mean, sure, you probably got acquired, and that was part of it. But what do you see happening around talent in Hollywood, looking at podcasting and kind of the new media space? Is it becoming the focus? I mean, I'm seeing that happen down there. What's your thoughts on it? I mean, is there a big shift happening?
Well, there's definitely people are appreciating online content more than ever. Like you see movie stars trying to make like viral videos to promote their movies. Where like like the whole junket thing where like a million interviewers would come in and talk to a talk to a celebrity about his movie and ask him the same 5 questions and put it on their TV shows. Now it might be more worth it for like Seth MacFarlane to sit with College Humor and make a 5-minute internet video that's a huge hit, where millions of people will watch it that way rather than like 200,000 people watching it on a morning show in Iowa City. Nothing against Iowa City.
Yeah, it's just that fewer and fewer people are watching those broadcast programs, right? So they're getting all their content from the web and the internet. Yeah.
Right. If you want to reach a younger crowd, you make a funny video for the internet and hope it takes off.
I also think, though, that as the celebrities come in, some of them have some unrealistic expectations. I had I guess for a better word, person that had been on just a series. It was a series done by, I think it was E, maybe not E, but anyway, it was one of these housewife gals. And what series is Housewives on? Bravo. Yeah, so it was one of those gals, and she's going to do a show, and was talking with her people, because they always have people, and
they have their people.
Yeah, have their people. You never talk to the person themselves, which you should, because if you want to,
and their lawyers too are the ones that are always
give them
the most fun.
Yes. And they're like, yeah, well, we want to do a show, and we want $20,000 an episode, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, you're smoking crack. It's you've done one episode, and in your episode, you've got X number of people listening. I said, when your audience is X size, yes, we can probably get you $20,000 an episode, but you're going to have to do better than someone like Adam Carolla or someone like that, because if you don't, you're not going to make that much an episode. So they have these they have TV expectations. That's what they have, and I'd love to have the ability to, pay those kinds of dollars to shows that are, celebrities, but where do we think then, it's going to, when's the money going to catch up? When is digital going to get as much as TV? Are we ever going to get that much?
It's definitely trending towards a point where TV money is going down and internet money is going up. I feel like they'd have to cross paths eventually when advertisers realize that only 2 million people are watching this TV show live and 10 million people are watching this pre-roll on YouTube.
I think it also goes back to, my daughter, show my age here, my daughter is 23, and my oldest is, and she's not connected. She's, she's a cord cutter. She just watches whatever she can on the net, between Netflix and Hulu and 2 or 3 different video things. That's what she's on. She doesn't watch regular TV. So how is an advertiser reaching her at this point? They're not. And she's getting all her purchasing decisions on the net.
The audience that watches TV live is getting older and shrinking, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that there's fewer dollars in TV too. I think over time, what we've been talking about of being able to make content quickly, right? Taking less time, driving the cost down. There's going to be more content spread across a larger group of people watching it online. There's not going to be this big aggregate of 15 million people watching a broadcast TV show that aggregates a big audience. And I think that the audience gets spread out across a lot of shorter content over time, and that's going to dramatically hurt the kind of broadcast folks, and it's also going to drive the need to have lower cost productions, and that's going to put a lot of squeeze on talent to not be as greedy around asking for guarantees and upfront. I don't know. So what do you think about that, Amir?
Yeah, that's sort of the trade-off is it's easy to create a podcast, so people just assume, it's less meaningful, where TV, to make a TV show, you have to, go through an entire system, a process, and that's something me and Jake are learning now too, is like creating, selling, pitching, making, greenlighting a TV show is a multi-year process. And so advertisers assume, perhaps correctly, that if you get on TV, at the very least it's good enough to make it there. Whether or not the show ends up being good is totally different.
Do you think that we'll see a time when shows like that are produced first for the internet, and then the broadcast piece is like just a bonus?
Well, it's definitely getting to the point where TV is looking online to create these shows. Like Broad City on Comedy Central was a web series before it was a TV show, and we know a bunch of other web comedians that are pitching their shows, being like, "Look, we have this huge built-in audience. At the very least, that's better than a lot of other shows you have coming in that nobody knows about." So it's a little bit more of a sure thing.
I think too, Rob, what's going to happen is that because we have 1,000 channels of crap on our cable boxes these days, at some point there's going to be, as this trend changes, as we basically, as the digital dollars increase and TV dollars decrease, some of those productions won't survive that have been relying on regular TV. So maybe what will happen then is it'll actually open up and TV will become easier to get into. And I might be wrong, but, getting a channel slot is just, it's a multi-year, many millions of dollars, and, a lot of lawyers just to make that happen, to make, one channel get turned on. So maybe at some point that will loosen up. I don't know if it will or not. Do we even want it to? Who knows? I don't know. Maybe at that point we don't even care. But
maybe at a certain point they'll hit each other and people won't realize the difference between TV and internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, one thing too, it's a little off topic here, but on Monday the WWDC is happening and Apple will be making some announcements, and I got my fingers crossed again. Ever since they introduced the Apple TV, I've been hoping that they will open it up to apps. And with some of the hype that some of their executives have been saying, where they're going to introduce a best product in 25 years, it has me a little bit hopeful that they're going to open up Apple TV. And, with the Roku and with the, Google TV and now Android TV basically being, Google TV being relaunched as Android TV, and all these other platforms that are out there that are set-top boxes, which probably all of us have one or two of those. I know I have basically all of them because we run apps on all those devices. But, what's your guys' thoughts? Do you think Apple has a chance here to catch up to Roku and to the other folks that are doing set-top box stuff like Amazon Fire TV?
I don't know, Amir, do you want to take that first?
It seems like everything is sort of merging together. Like, I'm pretty technologically savvy, and I can't really fully understand the difference between a computer and a TV nowadays. Like, whether these, like an Apple TV, you can watch shows via Apple, or my Xbox, I can stream Netflix and Hulu. It seems like everything is heading towards, these are screens and you can watch everything.
Right.
On my phone, I can watch a movie. On my TV, I can watch a TV show. On my computer, I can watch anything else. Like, all these things are just going to become screens that show YouTube videos, movies, documentaries, TV shows, reality shows. I feel like people are not going to be able to tell the difference now within the next 5-10 years.
Yeah.
So Todd, I think you're right. I think that there's a lot of pressure for the Apple folks to open that up, and because there's so much competition out there that's doing the same. But Apple does kind of chart their own path. I mean, it's not always, they don't always do what everybody else does. So,
well, we know one other company does the same thing too.
Yeah.
It's up there in Washington State.
Yes. So I think that they probably will open it up, but they're probably going to be, it's probably not going to be 100% open. It would be my guess. But I think it'll be a lot more open than it has been.
I just if they don't open it up this go round, I'll be very disappointed. And I think the folks that are Apple fans and supporters of Apple will be disappointed too, because here's what it really boils down to: none of us want a limited box. None of us want something that is constrained. And this, I believe, in my opinion, this will be the downfall of not, because the Xbox is constrained and the Apple TV at this point is constrained. And it's constrained largely because they've got it tied around a revenue stream and they're trying to protect that at all costs. Apple, I don't think, has that case with the Apple TV tied to a revenue stream. They may, but at the same time, I really think that they are going to have to open it up. And if they don't, then they're just going to allow Amazon, and it's going to allow the Roku folks, and now the oncoming, because Android TV, that sucker's going to be wide open. They're going to allow any app. I just don't think they have any choice, and it should be consumer's choice anyway. I buy the box, I put on the channels I want, but again, that's not the way Apple thinks. So maybe they'll go your way. I don't know. I can only be hopeful. I'm a big believer in the set-top boxes. We were app number 26 on the Roku. Now there's 500 or something, and they still deliver a nice percentage of, mostly views, not listens. But my kids never go to regular TV. They're between the Amazon Fire TV and Roku. They're on those two devices 24/7. They never leave those devices to go to a regular TV channel.
So I guess if you think about it from just purely like it's just a dumb screen, right? And it can have the same apps that your phone has, and as the phones get bigger, these apps become, they can be scaled to whatever the screen is. I mean, you start thinking about it in that way. I think it does make sense to open it up and just make every screen available with the same apps, and it's just scalable.
No, that's almost the strategy of Microsoft, except it's only, it's happened on the desktop and Windows Phone. The Xbox division is, basically still holding up their middle finger and not letting that 3-screen experience be seamless.
Yeah.
But, I guess people that create audio, most of folks don't care about this. They don't think so much about the TV screens. They think specifically, about our, our mobile devices. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, there is content that's more consumed on in different content based on the screen size. So, I think that's where we're still kind of in a transition, right? Of people realizing that it doesn't really matter what size the screen is. You can consume any content on any size screen that you want.
Yeah, if you put a phone close enough to your face, it's bigger than a large screen 20 feet away from you.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's true.
But I'll be honest with you, maybe I'm old school, and maybe it's a generational thing, but I don't watch too many videos on my phone. Once in a while, if someone says, "Oh my God, you got to see this," I'll do it then. But I'll watch a lot of stuff on my iPad, but I don't watch a lot on the actual mobile device.
What we're also seeing here in the next year is more and more phones coming out with ultra high resolution screens, even like 2 and 4K screens. I think we're already starting to see 2K screens, starting to come out, and 4K is probably not far behind. And you start to think about what Amir just said. You just hold that close to you, and that's like equivalent to an 80-inch television that's 15 feet away.
That's true.
So, yeah.
And I think it is a generational thing. I think like almost half the views on YouTube are now watched by kids on their phones.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And YouTube is another example of a ubiquitous app platform that's everywhere. Same with Netflix. I think that is the strategy that made those companies as big as they are, is the fact that they were available everywhere. There wasn't any device or any platform that was connected to a screen that you couldn't get your content through there. And I think that the services that control that too much are at a disadvantage. Yeah.
I think, though, the challenge that YouTube's having, especially on the live side, is there's no, in my opinion, there's no comprehensive strategy for the content. They don't have, there's really no place that I can go on YouTube and I can find their key partners, that the 20 shows that they promote or so, but to find my show in a live stack somewhere, it's really non-existent. So their strategy to live is you promote it and we'll host it, but from a getting exposure on YouTube, that's not going to happen. We talked to them before we went to CES. We said, hey, we'd like to do YouTube live for our CES coverage. There was a few limitations of the platform. We'd have had to reset the stream every couple hours based on the way it was before, but they basically said, well, we really don't have a mechanism to, it's like we can't put you in short placement. You have to become a partner, this like the super duper partner first before you can get over here. So, so my strategy was then, okay, so next year, what do I have to do? I've got to get Tech Podcast as a partner, but we don't have enough video content really to be, and not enough YouTube guys to, make that jump. So it was what we were talking about earlier. Got these great podcast audiences, and usually during these type of big events we do, these great live events, we have great audiences, but then again, it just wasn't enough to make the push. So that's why we went back to live stream and said, hey, and they said, yeah, we'll put you right up on the front page, and boom, it was done. So, I like YouTube from a price point free for live. It's really fantastic, and it hasn't failed me yet, knock on wood. But maybe that's part of the reason why some of these other live services are having challenges.
I would think so. That would make sense.
Live's probably just not very important for YouTube. Like, they just care about people watching their content.
Right. And that's where they're going to make their most money, too. That's where they're going to drop the ads and everything.
As has always been, live is never a very popular format. It's not a format. It's more of a delivery method, but because people are doing other stuff.
Yeah.
They want to tune in when they want to tune in. That's, like this show.
Yep.
We don't get many live watchers or live viewers, but we get a boatload of audio and video downloads on our podcast. So,
I call
that's where the audience is.
I call it a means to an end. If we're going to be doing video, might as well be live, and it's there for those that want to watch, and I'm not so concerned about it. But
well, you've got a studio, Todd, that is capable of doing it. Most people don't. Right. So it's we're in a unique situation here where we can do all these things that a lot of shows can't.
Yeah, we had talked to a well, actually not talked to. There was a discussion point about some guys that were in one of the Google Plus podcasting communities was talking about live, and some price points that have come down recently on some gear, and people are showing their builds and talking about different types of stuff. And it's definitely a different level, because when I have people talking in the same forum about buying, this is a $1,300 mic, but when you are in a forum that's the guy's talking about buying a $99 mic, and he's weighing one thing over the other, and that extra $50 is a big issue to spend from a budget standpoint. And then in the same token, in the next column, you're talking about gear that you're starting just base cost is maybe $5,000-$6,000 just to do a minimal setup. That's a whole different ball game far as cash goes. It's at a whole different level expense wise, and most content creators are not in a position to spend that kind of money.
Yeah. Yeah, because Todd, your setup here, how much does that cost? If a person were to want to duplicate what we're doing right now.
Well, it's funny that you asked that. I took part of this studio on the road with me to Vegas, and the guy walked up and he said, I want this, just this, sell me it. And I basically handed him 2 days later a piece of paper, how much it was, and that piece of paper was about $75,000. Now, that was the travel studio. That wasn't everything that was here.
Yeah.
To probably duplicate everything here, you probably maybe $100,000. but it can be done a lot cheaper.
Amir. Yeah.
Well, the big cost.
Yeah, Amir, I think you probably spent twice that on your studio, right?
Yeah, well, we have three $99 microphones and a Zoom recorder, which costs $400. So right there is $600.
No, I should
Jake's appearance fee is $250,000. So what are we at? 250, 600.
I should preface that with, the costs are coming way down. One of the first cameras, the main camera right here, that's a $6,000 camera. But if I switch to this camera, you can see a little bit of maybe you guys can't, but that's a $1,400 camera. So, there's definitely the prices are coming down, and it's not as expensive. I built this studio when stuff was still pretty high. The biggest thing is the TriCaster, the 860 XD. And with the switcher, this little box right here, that's
beautiful model.
That's $10,000 right there, just sitting on the desk. So, you don't have to go that way. You can buy Wirecast and use a keyboard instead of having a nice, beautiful stitcher.
Todd,
switcher.
And you have so much capability there that you don't actually use.
Oh yeah. Just
you also have a stack of $10,000 sitting next to the actual stitcher that you were talking about. So that's another $10,000 right there.
Yeah, that's right.
I noticed when you switch screens, there was just a wad of $100 bills next to you.
Okay, just so please let's look again. Where did you see that money at? Yeah, right.
So you use it as a mouse pad, it looks like.
Yeah, one would wish. But no, it's.
He's got a cash printer in the back.
But here's the skinny. This is part of the reason why when I built this studio and when I did the audio rack, and I don't know if you can see the audio rack. The audio rack is way more than you would ever need now. But to do, multiple people, I can have as many as 4 of us in here with the mixer that's in and have everyone hear each other. But when I built this initially, my goal, and it was an audio show only for the first 675 episodes, the goal is when I hit record and when I got done and I hit stop and I saved that file, that audio file was pristine. It was done. I didn't have to do anything to it from an audio standpoint to edit it. I went in and so the audio rack is where it really kind of started. My philosophy started there is, get in and get out, because I got a family. At the time I had a full-time job. I still have a job, but a different type of job. And really I wanted to be able to not end up divorced after 3 years. So I didn't, I heard these horror stories about guys spending hours and hours post-editing, and that wasn't going to be me. And that's the way my show's been from today. I get done and I reach over to the recorder. I do one thing to it. I set the audio level, which takes about a minute, and I save the file. I cut the ends, set the audio level, save the file, and upload. It's done. And the same way I want to do with the video. I wanted when the video was done, cut the ends, maybe adjust the audio a little bit, and encode and be done. So at the time when I started investing in the studio, the TriCaster was it. There was nobody else, So now Wirecast is on the scene and a variety of other things. So if I was building the studio today, starting at where I was 400 episodes ago or 5 years ago, I would have never bought a TriCaster. I'd have bought a Wirecast system, and this studio could be built for a lot less money, a lot less. But at the time, it wasn't. That's the cost of doing business. So yeah, to replace it as is now with the same gear would be the same amount. But just to do the Skype thing, that's being run on two Mac Minis. There's a separate audio recorder. The TriCaster does video by itself, so it's not cheap, but I'm happy with the quality for sure.
Yeah.
It's
interesting what's what's happening with making podcasts. I mean, I'm just seeing an explosion of new content out there in iTunes, and I'm just hopeful that audiences are following. With all this diversity of content out there. Amir, are you following what's happening with the kind of podcasting space at a broader sense? Are you hearing and seeing that as well? There's just a huge explosion of shows and podcast content now.
No, though it doesn't surprise me with how easy it is. And you look at one comedian who has a very popular podcast, and that helps him book shows, and it helps him offline as well. So you're like, wait a minute, I can talk into a camera and be funny.
You know what, Rob? From that standpoint, while I probably will get in trouble if I release the numbers, Angela pulls me a report every month for what we're doing business volume wise, and him and I are. Yesterday, I'm like, I told him, I said, rerun the report again. It can't be right, and he rerun the report, and he said, no. And so we're really seeing, I guess for a better word, explosive growth, and a lot of new shows. And with any new shows, you just, okay, how long are they going to last? And a lot of shows that are existing, too, that are coming over to us. And the problem that is with all these new shows is I try to consume 100 shows a week. I try to go through and I just load iTunes up. I subscribe to, I pick a category and I'll go down and I just go down the list. And it's an incredible amount of content out there, but the discovery is the big challenge.
How do you have time to listen to 100 shows?
In the car, I listen for what I basically do is I have it set up and got my phone mounted, and what it really ends up happening is I listen to 3 minutes of something and boom, I hit the next step, I hit the next person, because there's a lot of crap out there too. So I know within about 3 minutes whether I want to listen to a show or explore it deeper. So I'm sampling is what I'm doing.
How many podcasts are on your listen to every episode in full when they come out list?
Maybe 10. But it's also those 10 that I listen to are the stuff that I like to listen to. The genre stuff. When I'm sampling everything.
Gotcha.
So, and it's from a business standpoint the reason why I'm sampling. But it's hard to sample 100 a week, but I try to do it. I really do. And and sometimes it's a pain just to do the subscriptions and unsubscribes too.
So Todd, as you're doing that, what kind of trends are you seeing kind of from a content perspective? Do you think that the overall quality of what's being produced is going up? Or do you think that we're still kind of in that 2005 range where it's guys in their garage doing shows?
I think from an audio quality standpoint, it's across the board is really incredible. I think people are, it doesn't take a lot to have good audio quality now. In 2004, my God, we were recording with LabTech headsets and we're getting good quality, and for audio. And now the most folks are not doing that. Even if they're using gamer headsets, those are pretty incredible headsets from a quality standpoint from a microphone goes as well. So, the quality isn't bad. It's just sometimes the content just sucks. And one thing I hear a lot, which is should not be, well, maybe it is surprising. I hear a lot of teenagers doing shows. A lot of teenagers, like maybe 1 out of 10 is a teenager that him and his buddies are doing a show. And I think what we can look forward to is these guys they're getting their feet wet, and we're going to have an amazing group of content creators in 6-7 years that are all going to, you look at them, they're already a lot of folks are already graduating into YouTube, and if they're trying to do podcasts early, they're thinking about it at that young age. It makes you go, and the content is not necessarily good as you would expect. Once in a while you hear something that's okay, but and then I don't hear a lot of old people doing shows. I hear mid-20s and 30s is what sometimes you have to guess what an age of a person is.
So you think what's happening a little bit is that we're seeing kind of a youth upswing in podcast content creation? I mean, is it similar? Do you think what happened with YouTube?
Well, I think I do, and I'm sure what it is. These guys hear shows like mine, said, "Man, we can do better than that, dude. Let's go." So and you would expect the content is around stuff that you would expect kids to do. Games. A lot of game shows with kids doing game shows. Teenagers doing gaming shows and talking about their Minecraft and talking about League of Legends and whatever they're playing that day. A lot of discussion around that. And boy, I tell you, they can cuss just like the younger kids. They think it's really cool to just swear up a storm when they're doing a podcast. That's the thing I think is pretty funny is they cuss more than the adults do. So.
No parents, no rules.
That's right.
That's right.
You want to know how your kids are acting, listen to their podcast, and you may get an earful.
This is our space. We can do what we want, Mom.
That's right.
Just drop off the pizza and roll the cameras and leave me alone.
And I'm sure they're in their rooms doing. Their parents like, just go in the room. As long as you're not out, smoking weed and smoking cigarettes or something, you can do whatever you want in your room, and the parents are probably happy about it.
Well, Amir is an example of that somewhat. I mean, I would think that your show attracts a younger listener. I would think. So what's the age range? Would you say your audience member is, Amir?
Probably 18 to 24.
That's perfect. That's exactly what podcasting needs more of. Shows that can attract an audience like that.
Because they're not here. Well, Rob, I'm not seeing any trends.
What do you mean they're not listening to the shows?
Well, no, they don't listen to podcasts.
Oh, well, I don't know. Amir's kind of jumped in with both feet in this space. I
hope he drags a whole bunch of them in.
Yeah.
We need that.
That's how it starts. You take one person you listen to your first podcast, and they're like, "What else is on this place?"
Yeah. But most 18 to 25-year-olds, so still, Rob, they want to listen to a younger person. They don't want to hear this old dude. So, they're going to go seek out the tech shows, the gaming shows that's got the younger guys, their own generation that can that they can more relate to. So,
well, I think that the kind of younger generation has always kind of been there in podcasting, but it's mainly been around video games. It's always been the guys' side. One thing that doesn't get talked a lot about is women and their presence in podcasting. And I think that's been really, really accelerating here over the last 3 to 4 years as well, where more women are doing shows now and pulling in that female listener, which is so important to the space. There's actually more women in the U.S. than there are men. So it's a pretty important sex to have involved in the podcasting space, that's for sure.
My daughter, she just graduated high school a couple weeks ago, and typical teenagers, well, maybe not typical, I don't know what all of them are doing these days, but she's been having a hard time on career choices, and I told her, just, figure it out, figure out, do something you love, and, don't get stuck in something that you're just going to hate. Too
Todd's
many people
saying,
do that.
Start a podcast.
So,
I'll get you all set up.
So here's what she, initially was all about becoming a nurse or a pharmacist or something to that effect. And then, she's also talked from time to time about doing journalist stuff. And I'm like, listen, journalism's dead. New York Times is, you're just, if you want to do that, I said, obviously, what do I have here? Let's get you started. We can set you up a blog, we can do a podcast. And so, but the challenge she's having, and the thing she's been wrestling with actually for a couple of months is, okay, what do I talk about? And so I think what it also is she doesn't have, and part of the challenge with being a little younger, and Amir, maybe you can weigh in on this, is that there's not enough life experience yet to have a hardcore passion about something. So maybe she just needs a few more years to figure out, hey, this is what I'm really passionate about, and she can get behind that and do content. It's easy to get behind being passionate about gaming, but there's a lot of the topics on the ecosphere that need to be covered that are not. But that's my internal thoughts on her. Of course, I'm just trying to help her create a process a little bit by throwing ideas out there from time to time. But, Amir, what was your path into this space?
I wrote for College Humor in college just for fun to write comedy. I guess my passion was trying to be funny. And then College Humor hired me right after college. But I was writing my own stuff as early as 18, 19.
So, Rob, when you were 18, did you have a passion about something enough that you could have sat down and started creating content?
When I was 18, there really wasn't any internet. So as far as content goes, I wasn't even thinking about any of that kind of stuff. I was full on into being a basketball player.
Well, I was drinking beer and chasing tail.
Well, that was certainly all part of the mix as well. So being a sports guy,
basketball player means.
Yeah.
So
played in college and in high school. So,
where did you go to college?
Pacific Lutheran University up here in Washington, and then I went to Sammamish High in Bellevue, and we almost won the state AAA championship in the basketball area. So, we lost by 3 points in the finals.
He's short. Rob's really short. He's not very
point
tall.
Guard?
No, center.
I was joking. Rob is. What are you, Rob? 6'5"?
No, I'm 6'8".
Okay.
Wow. Did not expect that.
You didn't? Well, you should come by the office sometime. We can meet in person. That'd be great.
6'8".
Yeah.
That's LeBron's height.
Yeah.
You know.
What were your numbers like in college? Were you a double-double?
I averaged about 14, 15 points a game and had about I averaged about 8 or 9 rebounds.
That's solid. That'll make you $80 million in the NBA.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then I love to block shots too, and of course dunk, of course, right? That just comes with the territory. Yeah, I don't talk about basketball much anymore.
That's a whole new aspect. I didn't even know you played basketball.
Oh yeah, I played some semi-pro ball in Europe too. Yeah.
Sorry, I'd like to know if you can still dunk.
I can't. I'm done with that.
He can dunk when he dunks himself on the floor into the bathtub.
Can you remember your last dunk?
Yeah, it was probably 2008, something like that. When my son was playing basketball too. He's about 6'7", and he's like 260 now, but he's trying to become a professional baseball player. So I was involved in coaching a summer league team for him back then, and we traveled to Las Vegas and played in a big, kind of high school tournament. But that was the last time I actually dunked, because I was actually working out with these college kids. So it's been a while.
Well, I have a specific thing about sports I'm really good at, and it doesn't matter if it's golf, baseball, football, or basketball. If I hit or throw the ball, if I'm throwing it that way, it goes that way.
Yeah,
I am.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I could run track and cross country, but there was no ball sports for me per se, I guess. Yeah. Hey, by the way, I am proud to announce, Rob, 10 pounds down in 7 days on my little program here. So
congratulations.
Yeah.
Wow, what's the program?
I'm doing a system called Pirium, and matter of fact, if people want more information, they go to mypirium.com/podcast. But it's it's basically a 10-day cleanse thing. It's cleanse/weight loss, and I'm 3 days away from being able to eat again. And next Tuesday, I get to eat real food, and then Wednesday.
Straight juicing?
It's not juicing. It's they have a shake thing. It might as well be juicing. It's like a micronutrient type deal, and you do fiber and antioxidants and amino acids, and it's a pretty good program. And believe it or not, until I smell food, I'm good. If I don't smell food, I'm fine. But man, I smell food, I'm like, oh my God, kill me.
You'd be surprised how much weight you can lose by not eating for a week and a half. It's crazy.
And the thing is, it's true. But I'm usually this type of guy. If I get hungry, I got to have food. I get probably a little low blood sugar. And but with this regimen they got you on every 2.5 hours, something's in. You're taking something. You're basically you got plenty of nutrients to rock and roll on. But we'll see
being kind of involved in the space that we're at, we're always in front of computers and stuff like that, and you don't get a lot of exercise. I mean, that's why I can't dunk anymore. It's all because of the internet.
Yeah, that's why I can't dunk either. Because of the internet.
Oh, is that? Oh, that's what you're blaming, huh? Yeah.
Right. If I just did calf raises instead of being on the internet.
Well, you could get a desk that you could just stand at, right? And it's like a treadmill, and you could do stair stepping and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't want to do that either. Actually, I think I just want the internet.
Jamie Davis, a good friend of mine, has a desk that raises, and he lost an incredible amount of weight by just spending part of the day standing up working at his desk. And if I didn't have to rewire the whole doggone studio here to do that, I would probably have one here.
It's another $100,000 just to raise everything. What you do is put a stack of money underneath every piece of equipment.
So you just send me a FedEx box with the money in it, and we'll do that.
Sell that switcher you don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a bunch of people doing that at Microsoft back when I was working there. I mean, you could order this ergonomic, fitness desk, right? It would have like a walking treadmill underneath it.
Wow.
You could keep working at your desk. It took a certain amount of muscular skill to be able to type and walk at the same time, but I saw guys doing it. It was kind of weird.
I would end up. When you have those little moments when you're on the treadmill, right? And you're working. We all know that none of us have ever fell asleep at the keyboard before, so that'd be pretty embarrassing to fall on your face when you're working on the treadmill and you just face plant because you take a little micro nap there.
Yeah. So, Amir, I can see a new skit there around, everybody in the office, on one of those walking.
Yeah,
desks.
Me getting a walking desk does seem like the premise to a video.
Yep.
Yes.
That would be a good one, and especially if you're tie that around some potential weight loss. If you need to do that actually might work out well.
I need the opposite.
Oh, really? Well, there's always lots of protein shakes. That's what.
There you go.
Bulk
there
up.
you go.
Well, we have really went sideways on this show.
It's my fault.
That's it. It's always Amir's fault. Yes.
But we are at the top of the hour, Rob. So
okay.
I guess what we should do is let everybody know where to find Amir's shows. Now, I did have to ask Amir. You guys went all out for your website design. So
spent $30 on a custom Tumblr template, and you know what? It works.
Simple. It gets people to listen to the show.
Yeah, we just wanted something where you could just click on links and have them there, so it succeeds in that regard.
Yeah.
That's Podcast One's streaming player there on his page.
Yep.
So folks, you can find this particular show iwereyoushow.com. So definitely get over there and check out Amir's show with his partner there. And College Humor, I have no idea where to go on that website to find your stuff. I guess it's in the stack, yeah?
Yeah, well, if you go to collegehumor.com/Jake and Amir, that'll give you a feed of our videos. Ask your kids about it. Maybe they've seen them.
So, Jake, so how often do you guys make new videos for this, for College Humor?
One a week.
One a week, okay.
When you guys go in, do you record 2 or 3 at a time so you don't have to go in the studio every week, or?
Yes, that's correct. We record basically 3 in a day or 6 over 2 days, and then we edit them and release them over the course of a month.
Yeah, it makes it easier. That's a much wiser use of time.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys do that too. So I'll definitely have to check your content out on both shows.
You don't have to.
Oh, I absolutely will.
Of course we do, Amir.
Put you on the sample list, and hopefully I won't have to click fast forward after 3 minutes.
But, by 3 minutes it'll be over. Don't worry about it.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Been actually watching your video podcast for many, many years. Is that still available in iTunes?
The video podcast is just the stream of videos that you saw in College Humor.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Very cool. Jake, as you find you on Twitter, I believe I put it up in your dealio earlier. It's at Jake and Amir. Do you have your own specific? Do you have your own Twitter account, your personal one?
That is my own specific one. It's just called Jake and Amir.
All right, cool. All right, Rob, any final things before we cut Amir loose?
No, I just appreciate Amir, you coming on and taking time out to talk to us.
No doubt. Saturday 9 a.m. I'm up anyway, you know.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great.
Amir, thanks for coming on. We definitely appreciate it, and good luck on the new show, and continued success over at collegehumor.com.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this show.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Take care.
Enjoy.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Very cool, Rob. It kind of gives you an insight here to the other side of the fence.
Yeah, and I'll keep bringing on some folks from the Podcast One stable of content providers and content partners that we have. I think there's a lot of cool personalities over there and a lot of really great shows that are being produced, not necessarily by Podcast One, by, like these guys are part of Podcast One in a kind of, we're hosting their shows and things like that, but we're not really involved in any of the content production. So he's an independent, it's an independent show that's doing what they're doing, and we're just providing resources to them to help them be successful.
Yeah, that's cool, and it's good to see. Hope you see more of this. I know that's been your goal for a while, is to get some of these YouTube folks to jump ship, or not necessarily jump ship, but to create content on the other side too. Yeah, and I'm sure once they have the right exposure, and they'll bring their audiences with them. I have no doubt about that. I just wish we could take it the other way too.
Yeah,
but I don't. I think it does. It sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. So we'll have to see.
Well, YouTube is realizing that they have an opportunity to work more with podcasters, and they're trying to adapt to that. I've been on calls with them talking about that in regards to the content that we're doing at Podcast One, the original content that we're doing, and trying to build a following in the YouTube ecosystem. It's not necessarily ideally suited to audio programming over there, but there is a way to do it. I mean, you just have a visual that's up on the video player, and then it just it plays the audio, and there's segments of shows that are up there that do very well to get hundreds of thousands of listens. So I think there is some success that can be had from podcasters going over to YouTube, but it typically the shows or the segments of shows that are successful over there are ones that are really, really big shows, that can that people will actually search for. Because Todd, I agree with what you've been saying about on YouTube and other places as well. There's so much content, you just get buried in the stack, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to rise up above the noise of so much content.
And when they have some ridiculous 5,000 hours of video being uploaded every hour, how do you be found? You just pure luck half the time. Hey, I want to talk just a little bit, Rob, about the announcement that came out of Justin TV yesterday. Did you happen to see this?
No, I didn't.
So, live streaming website Justin.tv announced that they will be removing all archive footage from its website. Justin TV will also discontinue premium support in the coming months. This is what they had to say. Over the last few months, our staff has been reviewing data surrounding our archive and video on demand system. We found that more than half of our video on demands are unwatched with 0 or 1 total views, while the vast majority are rarely watched with 10 or less views. The data was essentially in a better understanding of how our service is being used. Even when adding the direct upload to YouTube functionality, we found this feature was seldom used. It's quite clear Justin TV is a home for live broadcasts. Viewers come to Justin TV because they want to consume content, interact with their communities in real time. So taking this into consideration, the above findings and countless discussion, we've concluded to remove all archiving after June 8th. This means that live broadcasts will no longer be recorded.
Wow. Going all in on live, huh?
Yeah, live is it.
Interesting.
And here's where I think part of the issue is, and maybe I should just go over to Justin and
just on there
is to, and I haven't been over here in a while, even though I've got a channel that's one of those probably 0 viewed ones.
Well, Justin has really always been about live.
It's true, it has.
I don't, the whole archiving thing and YouTube connection, that I think is interesting because it definitely flies in the opposite direction from the normal thought in this space of archives being more popular than live, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that the strategy that they're taking is the correct strategy. I mean, I think they're playing to live is important, but for a segment of the audience, not for the whole audience.
Well, you have to have a huge, you have to have a huge audience that wants to tune in live. But
I don't know that exists in reality.
Yeah, but the discovery issue is another problem here. You come over here, and they've got 1, 4, 7, 10 shows that are featured. Now you can go to the channel directory.
Yep.
And so who's on here? Well, you got some of the same folks that are always on here. You got Twit. You've got just a few shows that are on some of the same other sites, and of course the ads are trying to run here.
Yeah.
But it's how do you if you're a live content creator, how do you, if you don't have a website, how do you promote your live, or how do you promote your archive? If you're
it's also Justin TV is not a destination.
No, not at all.
And it's very, very difficult to be a destination. So what they're trying to become is catering to a very small niche of usage out there, around live. And I think where they made their mistake was not syndicating this content more.
Oh, I just totally screwed up the switcher here.
It's okay.
I'm trying to move too many buttons. Yeah, and that's probably the whole deal. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, to be honest with you, for them.
Well, and I did hear, was it last week, talk that Yahoo is going to launch a YouTube competitor here pretty soon.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, because there has been this kind of this movement that's happening, and I've seen it at companies that have been focused on YouTube, like Maker Studio, and we've talked about Blip TV before as another kind of example of this. Is that a lot of the big video creators are getting nervous about YouTube, and I believe that the industry is starting to think beyond YouTube now. I think what happens with Google is that over time they erode the revenue share. The same thing happened with AdSense, where over a period of years, and Google likes to keep these numbers kind of hush hush, but the percentage revenue share going to content providers slowly gets chipped away at, gets lower and lower and lower, to a point where there's kind of this inflection point that happens with content providers that they see, well, I can make a higher percentage if I start distributing my show in an alternative platform, right? That's maybe has a, like maybe a 60-40 split where they can make 60 and the network makes 40, or if there's, a higher percentage of revenue share, that they start thinking about other platforms, right? And that's somewhat what was going on around Blip TV. Why Maker Studio bought Blip TV was off YouTube distribution. It's kind of like they're hedging their bets against risk around being too dependent on the platform like YouTube for their monetary revenue, around their content. So I think Yahoo may be seeing a window of opportunity here of trying to get a stronger revenue share to content providers as a motivation to get them to start shifting their focus over to a new platform.
There was a number of years that I used Blip a lot.
Yep.
We were putting a video up on Blip before the players got advanced. I was using a Blip player on the website, and probably there's previous episodes I'll have to go back through soon and take a look at. But part of the challenge now is, I had 3 channels over there. I had one for my content, one for Tech Podcast, and one for back channel content. And this back channel content that we had was for stuff that weird crap we just dropped up there. And it got a lot of traffic, it got a lot of views. And I got an email a couple days ago. They said, hey, June 18th, that we're going to kill that account. So they're going into and of course, I'm not contributing to Blip anymore. So that's part of it. So they're probably saying, hey, this channel's dead from a new content standpoint. But they're going in and killing all their back catalog. Everything that it appears to be old, they're getting rid of. They're culling out. So I'm not necessarily mad about it, but I would be concerned if they started pulling down my some of my my primary account over there. But really, I don't send anybody over there, so I guess they probably should at some point. I don't know, but their whole focus when it changed to they definitely had they drove a lot of us away from Blip by some of the decisions they made.
Yeah, Todd, I just wonder if kind of from a much higher level view, aggregators are just not going to be the way of the future. I just really start to wonder, and I think Justin may be an interesting kind of example of this, is if you go to their homepage and you look at what they're doing, they're not about content discovery at all. I mean, what they're doing on this page is really bad, I think. There's no kind of hooks to get people into content here. So I can see, and having a bunch of archived content adds a lot of cost to their operations around storage and streaming. And of course, they're probably not getting a lot of streaming of the content unless it's being made available off of this platform on the actual content provider's site. So I start to wonder if where all this is going is more and more content providers being 100% in charge of the distribution of their shows and owning their relationship with the audience more and more, and being less dependent on platforms like Justin TV to be their source for getting audience. I don't know.
Well, it goes back to me have stating this since the beginning of time, essentially, is own your brand, own your .com, and have a point of presence. And if you do well on YouTube and so forth, great. But I really, and I see a lot more mini networks popping up. So maybe people are focused on building more networks. So
yep.
It's interesting. It's an interesting time in the space. The folks at Stitcher sent an email out and basically talking about they're doing revenue share now and blah blah blah. And I don't know what
really. So what? Yeah. So why don't you expand on that a little bit?
Well, I haven't looked and seen what their percentage is. I haven't went in and looked at their system because I don't get a lot of traffic over at Stitcher either. I get maybe 3-4% of my audience, but so I guess I need to just go over there and look and see what the breakout is. I haven't seen what the percentage of revenue share is going to be, and I think you have to have a certain audience size over there before you can qualify. So you have to have a certain number of listens. I don't know. I think they stated it.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it.
Yeah, but it's I just kind of one of those emails that came in. I read and I didn't really investigate too far, too deep.
Well, yes, this topic was the focus of my most recent kind of the article that I wrote for the Pottertainment was that I think platforms like Stitcher need to work in closer partnership with content providers. If they're going to survive, there needs to be some sort of revenue share that happens that's in a cooperative relationship with the distribution side, because Stitcher's, they don't have a lot of ways to make money.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of VC investment in that company, and they need to find ways to make money. And next week we're going to have the CEO of Spreaker on, and he's another example of a platform, it's difficult to monetize, and he's going to start making apps for podcasts as a business model, right?
Yep.
He's going to charge like $99 or something
Yep.
like that to create an app for your podcast.
Yep.
So that's an example of an aggregator kind of adapting to the market and trying to figure out a way to monetize or make some money to justify the continued investment in the software, and the platform.
It is, and if he can make that work, and where they're just syndicating the content in, and I'm paying $100 a year for an app, sign me up. Especially, it just takes that headache away of having to manage an app and the software build and everything else. If they're controlling that and managing it, that's cheap.
Yeah.
From a cost perspective, especially if you give someone a direct link or a direct, it doesn't take 2 or 3 steps to get signed up like you do with, some of the other podcasting apps that are out there, where you have to have, 2 different pieces to make it one app work, which is weird. But I guess we'll have to see where it's going to go. But I think the Justin TV thing is very interesting, and I'm wondering what the fallout's going to be from this, because I wonder if content creators are going to start thinking more about their archive and what to do with their archive. I hope they do, and I hope when they think about it that they say, maybe I need to have a podcast, and maybe they'll start putting their archives on some place where they can be consumed later or be subscribed to.
But I also wonder, for Justin TV to make this jump to focusing on live is really a counter move than what you would expect, given what YouTube is doing free live streaming, just like what we're doing today.
Yep.
How can they justify moving their entire business over to a method of content distribution that has been effectively neutralized from a revenue opportunity perspective, based on the huge player of YouTube, right, and Google, with the deep pockets that they have? What are they going to do that's going to differentiate themselves from being able to do something better than like what we're doing right now?
Well, maybe that's their challenge. Maybe they're running out of money and they got to save money, so they're going to get rid of the archive to reduce that overhead.
Yep.
And maybe they don't have a model. Maybe their model is totally jacked, and they have to, because I'll be honest with you,
drop costs is their focus.
I saved a couple $100 a month when YouTube. So I started off on Ustream, and then they started running erectile function ads against my content and baby diaper ads against my tech show, and it pissed me off so bad that I left. I left Ustream. So then I went over to Ustream, and their price point for having a broadcast, basically where I can take the embed and put it on my own website, is way too high. So I was using them for a little bit and trying to direct people over there. That didn't work out so good because I couldn't tell them to come over to geeknewscentral.com. So then I left a live stream from a primary standpoint, and I started doing my own deal. I went to Amazon and set up Flash Media Server and got that all worked out. And basically, I can still stream live on Amazon today if I want to. But to be honest with you, it'd probably take me an hour to figure out how to get it turned back on because I haven't run it in so long. But my main point here is that that cost me money. That was like $200 a month to do that. And for me, what YouTube has introduced and being able to do live on YouTube, I've been able to put the embed wherever I want. People can put it wherever they want. The service is getting better day by day. I get done recording the show. It's already archived. I don't have to upload anything anymore. For me, it's like, and it costs nothing. We're done. Game over. So how can Ustream, Justin, and Livestream compete against this 500-pound gorilla? And maybe they can't. Yeah,
I'm on the Justin TV Pro account page, and it shows that they have a $9.99 monthly plan.
That's going away. They're killing that.
And then they have a $79.99. So what are they going to?
Don't know. They're saying they're killing premium. So
it's going to be free live streaming?
I guess.
How's that a business model?
They'll discontinue premium support. Now, does that mean, okay, maybe there's two different things here.
Premium to me says that paid access.
Let me see if I can find.
Not. I mean, is it more from a listener or viewer perspective, or is it from a content provider perspective?
I don't know. I haven't been over here enough, Rob, to tell you.
I'm on their site right now, looking at it.
Yeah, I'm too. I don't even see where you can find out. Oh, there it is. Let me look here. So, maybe they're running enough ads in the content to make money. I don't know. But what have they got on the front page right now? Just some weird.
Well, they have a bunch of channels.
Yeah, they're doing a tutorial. Something live is on the front page. It's some sort of weird tutorial. Yeah. Now let me look at pro accounts.
Well, it's a horrible kind of content discovery website. I mean, it's just like there's nothing that pulls you into anything.
So what they try to do is people that are they're trying to get it on the listener side. So it says join hundreds of thousands of pro members, enjoy hundreds of ad-free hours, ad-free viewing. So if you pay for a pro at $80 a year, watch without ads, extended chat colors, pro chat badge, no region restrictions, 100% ad-free mobile, early access to new features. So that's what they offer listeners, not viewers. It's not for the content creators.
Yeah.
So,
So, but it's still, unless they haven't rolled it out yet, it's still showing $79.99 a year to open an account.
Well, when I was a podcast, or when I think I get still probably auto bill. I think I get charged $100 a year for something as a content creator on their website. I get something for my $100 a year. Maybe I get the archives or something. I don't know.
Okay.
So maybe that's what it was. Is they used to delete like after 7 archives. If you weren't a pro member, or premium member, they got rid of your archives. But I pay $100 a year to keep the archives. So I guess I won't be getting billed that anymore. But I guess we'll see where this goes with Justin TV. But they were one of the first. So we'll see where their destiny ends up on this. But I think they're still. I don't think I haven't heard them getting funding. Were they bought by anyone? I don't think so. Were they?
I don't. Let's see if there's a parent company. No. I think they're still a private company.
Yeah. Now, of course, Twitch and what's going on with. I hear that Twitch may be being bought by YouTube. I don't know, but
yeah, I keep hearing that too. That would make sense.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people watch people play video games. I don't get it, to be honest with you. There's not enough time in the day to do what I need to do now, but waste time watching it. To me, it's a little nuts. But that's
I always saw working in the Xbox team for many years and working on podcasting stuff. I always saw podcasts that were come in that would be submitted to our platform, and I would promote them and things like that. That had they're basically gameplay. and then they had like dialogue over the top of the gameplay, talking about, things that they were doing in the game and action scenes and things like that. It's almost, it can be pretty interesting content to watch. I think gaming content, gameplay content is interesting. If you're a very talented player and can do a lot of cool stuff in a particular video game, it can be interesting to watch. And I did see a fair amount of those podcasts become pretty popular in the platform. Now, granted, it's catering to it's Xbox kind of user base, which is kind of tends to gravitate to gaming type content. So it was a little bit of an inside the ballpark kind of thing. But I think there is a future for more videos coming out that are basically about gameplay action, and I think that's going to continue to be popular content genre, I think.
Well, we're here at the bottom of the hour, and I want to talk just a little bit about our upcoming schedule. So next week, Saturday, June 7th, as you said, we're going to have the CEO of Spreaker on. Yep. And then due to kind of a last-minute planned deal, I will not be available Saturday the 14th. I actually fly out of here Sunday the 8th and do a multi-state, multi-stop trip. I'm going to be, I think I have 5 rental cars in 4 days or something like that. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I fly out of here, go to Houston, then a couple other places, then L.A., then San Francisco, and actually I'm going to go up and visit the TWIT team on Friday the 13th, and see the studio, and talk,
I've been there before,
and talk with have a little meeting with Leo and Lisa, and then I fly back here on Saturday the 14th. Actually, we'll see you too, Rob, on I guess Thursday the 12th. Yeah, I think that's the day I'm scheduled to be in LA. So, but should be I'll probably come home and collapse. And hopefully my luggage isn't lost in all those jumps.
So we're not going to be able to do a show on the 14th of June.
Yeah, on the 14th of June, no show because I'll be airborne on my way back to Honolulu. So just couldn't work it, so I would be back in time. And
then I think we're off also July 5th. Right?
July 5th and the 12th. Yeah, so going to miss a few shows here. So yeah, but it's one of those. It's first family vacation. My wife tells me that we've done real true family vacation. We've done in like 7 years. So it's one thing about living in Hawaii. You're kind of always on vacation. That's at least what people think. But that's not the case though with you. You're always working, right? Yeah. The reality is though, if it's a lot cheaper to load 5 people up in a car and drive someplace. But when we want to go on a real vacation, it's you're looking at $5,000 just in airline tickets just to get to, get anywhere. So or not maybe 4,000, but we used a bunch of miles and. Incredible deal. I was looking for a SUV for the 2 weeks. My wife's going to LA earlier for a soccer conference, and I'm joining after the 4th. But not a soccer conference, a soccer tournament. So I needed an SUV for 2 weeks, and I'm looking at the rental. It's $1,300, $1,400, $1,200, $1,300, and I've got like 800,000 frequent flyer miles with United. So I went over there, and they have a place where you can redeem miles for a car. I was shocked. 51,000 miles, and I got a car for 2 weeks, big SUV, and I was like, wow. So if you've got miles and you're ever trying to get a rental car, that might be, look at that, because as far as I'm concerned, it just saved me $1,300 for 50,000 miles. And when you got 830,000 in the stack, it's $50K.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to break any banks for you, that's for sure.
But it definitely saved me $1,300.
Yeah, that's right. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic that you're going to get off the island and
disconnect. For about 9 or 10 days. I'm going to disconnect. So we're going to spend a lot of time in San Francisco. We're going to do 3 days at Disneyland, then we're going to drive up to San Fran My wife has never drove through the Silicon Valley, not Silicon Valley, San Joaquin Valley. So we're going to come off the Grapevine, and I'm going to let her drive.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you just did that drive recently. That's a fun stretch across there on I-5, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Driving from Seattle to LA was a little tough on my rear end. It was a little too much sitting.
She told me, she said, let's go Pacific Coast Highway up 101. And I'm like, no. We're not doing that. When we have another week, we will do that.
Yeah, because then you can take it slow, right?
Yeah, because you'll want to stop in every little town, every little shop. I says, yes, you'll need a week to drive that. And if we do that, we'll go all the way to San Francisco. It's a beautiful drive, but I don't want to do that on Pacific Coast Highway. So
yeah, exactly. And that'll take you 3 times as long to get there.
Yeah, because there's stoplights every 5 minutes. So
it's a windy road.
Yes, it is. All right. Anyway, folks, it's Todd or Rob at newmediashow.com for the email. And, of course, you can follow us on Twitter, I believe, at New Media Show. And but we thank you for being here. Everyone take care.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see you next time. Aloha.